through which we can discuss the so we had discussed in a very brief manner in our last class that how from the very 6th century BC, we find that how the researches were done by the acharyas who participated in the first Buddhist council or second Buddhist council or third Buddhist council. And then we find that how in Pali literature we find the term related with our research, that is in the Pariya Sen Sutta. First of all, we find the term related with the investigations or analysis. Buddhism has two aspects, that there is a causality and there is a dimensions of mind. And all the aspects are related with the logic and reasoning. Buddhism also says that do not accept anything, whatever it is coming from the tradition or from the past hori or whatever from the acharyas or hearsay. But whatever the things comes to you, you just investigate it, that whether these teachings are coming in the teachings canonical literature or not. If it comes, then you accept it, otherwise you do not accept it. Then we are discussing that how the researches can be conducted in Pali literature. So if you see language, literature, religion, philosophy, training, politics, social acts, science, and applications, these are the avenues or the dimensions in which the researches related with the Pali literature can be conducted. So in the last class, we had discussed a language portion, that what type of researches can be undertaken under the language sections. Today, we are going to discuss about the literature, that how a researcher can take research on the topic related with the literature, especially. As we are aware that in canonical there are three Tipitaka, that is the Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. And there are 5 Nikayas under the Sutta Pitaka. There are 5 texts under the Vinaya Pitaka and 7 texts under the Abhidhamma Pitaka. But whenever it comes to literature with the Pali, we also see that there are non-canonical literatures, Anupitaka Sahitya, Milinda Pahiyo, Niti Prakaran, Petkopadesh. And later on, from the 5th century AD, we are having the commentarial literature in which we are having the literature composed by Acharya Buddha Ghosh, Dhammapal, and Buddhadatta, and later on also from the 8th century AD or 9th century AD, we are having a series of literature composed in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand. Until now, we are having some of the text. So how this research can be conducted related with the suppose there is a text Sadhamma Pakasani. So now who is the author? What is the style of the writing of the Pali? How whether it is prose and poetry, where there is a matter related with the art and aesthetics, and if there are manuscripts which are not in the print form, and then icons of the our manuscripts or the literatures, we'll discuss later on that how we can get our literature under the literature review. We will discuss in a very detailed manner. And there is a comparison also. In one tradition also, there are some of the things which are dissimilar as well as similar also. Suppose there are some of the concepts which are very much similar in Kathavathu and the Milinda Pahiyo, but there are some of the dissimilarities. So a comparison of the two texts in one tradition, in the Theravada traditions or literature, they can be also done in the field of Pali. So related with the author, we have uh, how a researcher can go through that how one can find out that who is the author. If you go through the end of the text, there is a colophon, Nigaman Katha, then you will find that an author who writes about himself that under the request of someone I have composed this text in the village such and such, in the monastery such and such, in the year. He also writes about the name of the king. So we can also find out the date and authorship of the any text when we are doing any research, and then a style of the writing. So we have to see that what type of a style of writing at the time of the 6th century BC or at the time of 3rd century BC, the language of the Tipitaka is different than the literature which were composed by the Milinda Pahiyo in the text Milinda Pahiyo, Nitipakaran, and Petkopadesh, Anupitaka. And later also we are having different style of writing of the Pali language by the Acharya Buddha Ghosa, Buddhadatta, and Buddha Dhammapal, and other authors also. So language, the style of writing is also changing. So how you can find it, that style of writing is also changing about that. Then poetry. What are the portion? If you go through the Ther Gatha, Theri Gatha, you will find that there are poetical expressions uttered by the Ther or Theris in a very beautiful form. There are some of the utterances which were spoken by the monks and the nuns when they attained a state of eternal bliss. So how these utterances or the gathas or the verses they have been composed, what is the style of writing there, you can discuss it. But there are some of the texts like Sutta Nipat, you will find that there are some of the verses as well as prose system also. There are 572 suttas in Sutta Nipat, and they have been distributed into 5 baggas or chapters. So how in each Vaggas or Suttas we are having that there is a mixed prose and poetry also. So they can be also that, but we are also having some of the concepts related with the art in Pali literature. In the Mahaparinibbana Sutta of Digh Nikaya, you will find that there is a Upakatha, there is a discourses related with the making of the stupas. So you can find that there are some of the stupas which were engineered or they have been given in the our teachings of the Buddha, like Mahaparinibbana Sutta. In other texts also, we are having that how the philosophical teachings of the Buddha, they are compared with the art. So there is also some of the texts which are discussing about the art. When we go through the Thergatha and Therigatha and other texts also, you will find the descriptions of the nature and environment also. They are also giving expositions related with the art. There are some of the manuscripts which have not been unearthed till now in Myanmar, in Thailand, and in Sri Lanka. Still, there are some of the manuscripts which are not have been published. They are in the manuscript form. How the editing of the manuscript they have been, they can be also undertaken by our. So images of the some of the how the images are telling the some of the literatures which have been available in icons, and the comparison of the two texts can be also undertaken. Now the other aspect comes related with the religion. There are 4, 5 aspects related with the research. A researcher can do anything related with the concept, principle, rule, order, or comparison. These are the aspects on which a researcher can do anything. Suppose concept of law of dependent origination in Pali Tipitaka. So in all the 5 Nikayas, where the law of dependent originations have been discussed, how they have been interpreted in other Nikayas, as well as in Mahavagga or other text of Vinay Pitaka, and how in the text of Abhidhamma Pitaka, like Vibhanga, how it discusses the law of dependent originations in the 5th chapter of Vibhanga, that is the Pachayakar Vibhanga. We find that how Patismupada has been discussed. So this any concept related with the Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path, Law of Dependent Originations, Law of Karma and Rebirth, and others, they can be also undertaken. And a comparative study can be also taken that how the concepts or the rules which have been discussed in the suttas of the Dignikaya, Madhyam Nikaya, Sanjukta Nikaya, and Anguttara Nikaya, how they have been analyzed in the text of Abhidhamma Pitaka. So this comparison can be also taken related with the religion. Buddha never talks about the founding of the new religions. He has only discussed that how the things which are happening in our day-to-day life. So the things how these are occurring in our day-to-day life, how they are dependent on any cause and conditions. Everything comes dependent on some any cause. There is a hetu, cause, and conditions, that is the pratyay. So like that, there are some of the concepts relate or principles, rules in the Vinay Pitaka. You will find that there are 227 rules for the monks and 311 rules for the nuns. They have been divided under 2 categories, Bhikkhu Patimokha and Bhikkhuni Patimokha, and they have been discussed under the 8 headings of the Bhikkhu Vibhanga, Bhikkhu Patimokha, and under the Bhikkhuni Patimokha, there are only 7 headings from Parajika to Adhikarana Samatha. So like that, any rules which have been discussed, how the rules were framed related with the our Das Sikhapad or Panch Sikhapad, that is the Panchasil, Dasasil, Athasil, how the rules were framed, and how the order of the Sangha, which was established at Sarnath by the Blessed One Buddha, how it was developed, origin and development, how the monastic development were developed, what were the, how the Viharas or Mahaviharas, they were developed later on, how the rules were framed. So these can be also undertaken by a research scholar for his or her research also. Then the philosophy. Here, philosophy is a way of living a life. Buddhism is also called as not a religion, not a philosophy, but it is a way of life. How one person can get a state of eternal bliss. Buddhism has only two aspects, that there is a suffering and there is a cessation of suffering. Buddha also says that Dveme bhikkhave desemi dukkham cha dukh nirodham cha. That I preach only two things, that there is a suffering and there is a cessation of suffering. And in between that, he gives a path which is called as a middle path, Majhima Patipada, Madhyam Pratipada, and that is nothing but Arya Athangiko Maggo. So this is the path through which a person can get a state of eternal bliss. We have also discussed that how these eightfold path can be summarized in the three-stepped ways, like seal, samadhi, and panya, morality, concentration, and right understanding or wisdom. These are the three paths through which a person can get a state of eternal bliss. So these philosophical aspects related with the Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path, Law of Dependent Originations, then whenever we are discussing any concept of karma, rebirth, nibbana, these can be also undertaken based upon the Pali literature. What is the concept, notion, ethics, whenever we are discussing about the moral things and immoral things, ethics is the name of the study of the moral and immoral states of a person. So ethics, whenever if you go through the how the ethics has been discussed in the Pali literature, how the moral states and immoral states, how the Buddha talks about the Katme Dhamma Kusala, Katme Dhamma Kusala, Katme Dhamma Abhyakata. And in the suttas, how he discussed about in the Brahmajala Sutta of Dikha, he discusses that how Panchasil, Dasasil, Athasil, how he has discussed and he has discussed that how there are 62 types of false views, mithya or mithya drishti, they have been discussed in the, and how these mithya drishti can be removed by the Panchasil, Dasasil, and Athasil. So these are some of the concepts or the matter related with ethics they have been also discussed. How the society is changing from the time of the Buddha till others. So we have to see in the concept of anything, so how the things, concepts are also changing, as well as if you so see how the law of dependent origination, which has been discussed in the Dikha Nikaya, as well as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya and Sanjukta Nikaya. There are three suttas which are discussing about the concept of law of dependent origination, but they are in different manners. Some of the things which are not related, some of the links which are missing in some of the suttas. So how the changes are coming related with the philosophical aspects, we have to also make observation or investigation. Comparison of the things which can be also taken related with the philosophical aspects, that how the Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path, or a concept of nirvana, how the concept of nirvana, which has been discussed in the suttas, how they are differing in the concept of nibbana in the text of Abhidhamma Pitaka. So we have to make a comparison of that also. Then training here, there are 227 rules for the monks, and there are 311 rules for the nuns. So how the rules were developed, how the Patimokha is the name of the code of conduct for the monks and nuns, which were developed from the time of the Buddha. Later on, they were summarized or they were codified in the form of Bhikkhu Patimokha and Bhikkhuni Patimokha. Bhikkhu Patimokha has the 227 rules and Bhikkhuni Patimokha has the 311 rules. Under the Bhikkhuni Patimokha, there are only 7 headings from the Parajika Sanghadisesa, Pachitya, Nisagya Pachitya, Adhikaran Samatha, Sekhya. So there are under 7 headings under the Bhikkhuni Patimokha, but there are 8 headings related with the 227 rules. They under the there is Anitya Dhamma. There are 8 headings. So there is no Anitya Dhamma for Bhikkhuni Patimokha, but for Bhikkhu Patimokha, Anitya Dhamma, it was suggested by Visakha Mata to the Buddha, and 2 rules were framed related with the Anitya Dhamma. So how the rules for the monks and the nuns, how they are applied at the time of the Patimokha, how the Patimokha Uddesa, then Vasavasa, Pavarana, all these have been discussed in the Vinay text and in the commentaries also later on. So how these can be also undertaken by a research scholar. Then comes the politics. Politics, Buddhism does not talk about the politics. Buddhism talks about how a person can get a state of a state of eternal bliss, that is the Nibbana. But in the teachings of the Buddha, if you go through Aganya Sutta, Kuttadatta Sutta, Mahaparinibbana Sutta, there are so many suttas which are discussing related with the polity, how the governance, how there are 10 royal dhammas, royal duties of a king. In the Kuttadanta Sutta or Aganya Sutta, you will find that how the Raj Dhammas they have been discussed and how a royal king can govern to his subordinates or the people. So these is some of the rules, thus royal Dhamma, they have been discussed, Dan, Seel, other, they come, Maitri. So there are 10 types of royal dhammas. They have been discussed in the suttas also. We can also make a study of that how the governance at the time of the 6th century BC, it was suggested how the king Bimbisar and Ajasatru, if you go through the Nikaya, you will find Amrita Sutta or Samaya Phala Sutta, how the king approaches to the Blessed One and how he asked that there are some of the things which are not clear and Buddha preaches all things. So we find the governance. So even the human rights, they also discussed in our Pali Tipitaka and other literatures, commentary literatures also, how the law related with the society, they are also available. And Buddha also talks that everyone is equal, no is inferior or superior. Whosoever thinks that one is superior or one is inferior, he is engrossed with the Michha Ditti, Papakam Ditti Gatam. So Buddha says that all are equal. Chattaro Banna Samsama Hunti. So here we are seeing that how the Buddha talks about the equality. If you go through the Constitution of India, we'll see that how the society, economic polity, or other governing things which have been undertaken by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in the making of the Constitution, they have been taken from the teachings of the Buddha. So the politics, not in the sense of this political science, but how the teachings related with the governance or law of ruling the state or nation, administration, how the administration can be undertaken by the royal kings, and then comparison can be also undertaken. So there are suttas or the text which are discussing about the politics. So any research scholar can undertake the research related with the polity. Then there are some of the social acts. If you see that how the rituals, festivals, and how they are transacted. So if you go through the Upasat Vasavas ceremony, so in Vinay Pitaka, in the Mahabhavag, there are enumerations in the Upasat Khandak and Basu Panik Khandak. You will find that there are detailed descriptions of the rituals, how the rituals are. Buddhism does not believe in the Brahmanical expenses, but denies that taking a dip in the Ganga river, one can wash away all the immoral actions, resultant of the immoral actions. It is not like that. So, Buddha does not believe in the those rites and rituals performed by, but there are some of the rituals for the purification of consciousness which have been discussed by in the opposite conduct a person who makes the fast. Here fasting is Upsavat. So here is Upsavat is undertaken by a Bhikkhu or Bhikkhuni for the purification of a human being. How he makes fast and how at the Chaturdasi or Panarasi on the day of the Uposatha, how the 227 rules and the 311 rules are recited, and any monk or nun who has transgressed any rules or any teachings of the Buddha, he confesses it, and the punishment are being given by the Sangha or by the head about as per the rules which have been prescribed in the Patimokha. So these rituals, any person can go through the text in the Pali Vinay Pitaka, one can find it. There are descriptions of the festivals, how Vasavasa, Pavarana, other festivals are being celebrated by the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis or the sanghas. Then comes related with the science. Buddhism is a scientific investigation. So Buddha, if you go through the teachings of the Buddha, Buddha was a scientific teacher who has made an investigation of each and everything based upon the logic and the reasoning. So all the theories related with our how the concepts which are related with the they are also so related with our mm, law of dependent origination, how the theoretical aspects or the scientific investigations which have been done, they can be also undertaken by the research scholar. A comparison can be also taken by the traditional medicine, which is being given more importance nowadays in our Southeast Asian countries. So a comparison can be done that how these were developed later on from the 6th century BC, and how these, if you go through the, we are having the text related with the astrology, our medicines, then how the naturopathy, the text, there is a Pali text which was composed in Sri Lanka that is called as Bhesaj Manjusa, casket of medicine. It was composed on the basis of the eight texts which were available in our Indian traditions, that is the Ashtanga Shastra, Charaka Samhita, and other texts. Based upon that, Vesaj Manjusa was composed. We are having also Chandra Surya Gatha in the Thailand. We are having so many scientific texts which were composed by the authors later on. So these can be also undertaken by research scholar. We are having the text related with the Niti text also, like Lok Niti, Chanakya Niti, Dharma Niti. So we are also having some of the texts which were developed based upon the Sanskrit Niti text in Sri Lanka as well as in Myanmar. We are having a lot of Niti texts which are discussing about the ethics. So they can be also undertaken. And the last, how we are seeing that how the teachings of the Buddha can be applied in our day-to-day life, how the medicines which are available in the Pali text, Bhejaj Majusa and others, how they are talking about how they can be applied in our day-to-day life in the present moment to remove our stress and other things. How the teachings of the Buddha related with the finance, if you go through the Kuttadanta Sutta, Aganya Sutta, there are some of the discourses which are discussing that how a king can develop his economy and how he can develop the crops also in the agriculture field also. So there are suttas which are discussing related with that also. And the travels, how the Charika, Buddha Charika for the 45 years, Buddha wandered from one place to another place, from villages to city, city to Janapada, Janapada to our Pradesh state, how he has moved. So there can be research on these aspects also, how these organization, the Sangha can be also developed in, and how there are changes for the order from the 6th century BC till here, how the organizations of the Buddhist orders, they are working nowadays, about what are the changes, they can be also studied by that. So now we are coming to the next sections, Buddhism. Last slides we are discussing related with the only Pali literature, but now we are coming to the Buddhism. Buddhism has so many aspects related with, if you so Sanskrit Buddhist text, then we are having our Buddhist history, Buddhist philosophy, Chinese language literature, Japanese language literature, Korean literature, Korean Buddhism. So there are so many aspects also. So there are two types of research related with our Buddhism. Buddhism is nothing but it is a psycho-ethical thought and practice, pariyakti and padipatti, which takes a being from the state of suffering to the state of eternal bliss. So there are two types of researches which I have been we have discussed in the beginning also in the last class, that there are two types of researches, pure research and applied research. Pure research are based upon the theoretical aspects. That is for the sake of advancement of the knowledge, or making through the scientific investigations on the basis of the literature. If a person who is making any interpretations of the thing, that is called as theoretical aspects. But how the teachings of the Buddha, which are available in canonical, non-canonical, and commentary literature, how they can be applied in our day-to-day life, how that in the other subject also, we are having applied chemistry, applied mathematics, applied physics. In the same way, we are also having applied Buddhism. Applied Buddhism is a tool or technique through which we can study that how the teachings of the Buddha can be applied in our day-to-day life. So here there are under the Pali literature, there are two types of literature: canonical and non-canonical. In canonical, under the we are having Vinay Pitak, Sutta Pitak, and Abhidhamma Pitak, and in non-canonical, there are narratives and discourses from the Buddha's life and the teachings. So, if you see non-canonical, that is the it starts from the Anupitaka, Nettipakaran, Petkopadesh, and Milinda Pahiyo. But later on, also, we are having, there are so many texts which are discussing in the commentary literature. They are coming under the non-canonical, and some of the narratives related to the life of the Buddha, like Jatakat Katha, we are having the descriptions of the Nidan Katha, how the Buddha takes birth and how he takes pavaja, renunciation, and how he preaches. So all the in the Jatakat Katha, we are having the descriptions of all the life of the Buddha. So they can be also undertaken, and how the teachings of the Buddha they have been discussed in other commentary literatures. So these are coming under the non-canonical literatures. So here let us see how we are having in the field of Buddhism. So researching Pali Tipitaka or canonical literature to address some of the modern problems given below can be useful. We have already seen that how we have to mm, make for the study related with our research, how we can develop our society, economy, or the state or the country. So researches are being done only for the sake of advancement of the any state or nation. In what way your research is going to give support to the institution or the university where you have been registered for PhD course, you have to make a study of that. So here there are some of the things related with that how increasing food production, food security, detections and control of fatal diseases. It is one of the prime causes of the decline of economy in the state or the country. So how we can control about the crops also, as well as human beings are also affected by the fatal disease like corona and epidemics we are having. So how these can be removed by the researches based upon the text available in the our Buddhist literature. So we have to make a study. Then bioethical issue like euthanasia, cloning, nowadays old age problems and the cloning. There are so many bioethical issues which are affecting the life of a human being. So these can be also developed our in the society. And researches can be done also. How the human rights can be preserved through the teachings of the Buddha or the Buddhist literature. We have to make a study of it. So we have to make investigations through the research based upon the our four aspects of Buddhism, and we are having four schools of Buddhist thought: Yogacar, Madhyamik, Sautrantik, or Theravada. So on this philosophical our interpretations of the teachings of the Buddha, we can explore the teachings of the Buddha in different way by making scientific investigations. So let us start our this research. So this is our 7 step for starting the research process. We have already discussed in the beginning in the first class also that how the research process can be started and how ethics in each step can be also taken. So there are 7 stages if you see that how is research scholar from the time of the getting registration to the PhD course he can start for the. There are three preliminary research activities which are known as identifying the research problem, establish the research questions, and select the research strategy. These are the primary or preliminary research activities of a research scholar. So there are 7 stages: S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6, S7. So there are 7 stages through which the research thesis and the research paper can be undertaken by research scholar. First of all, we have to identify any research problem, or we have to in how the research questions can be developed until unless we do not go through the literature or what are the things which are happening in our day-to-day life, what, how, and where or when, how these are happening, when they are happening, and what are the causes of that happening of the events. These are the things which compel a person to think about the things. In the beginning class, we had discussed that how Isaac Newton has first of all observed that why the fruits are falling down from the tree. The fruits were falling down, but any person who thought that how this event is taking place, and then the questions, research questions are coming out. First of all, we have to see that how the research questions can be developed. Until unless we do not have research questions, we cannot make a research strategy. How the research can be done, there must be some hypothesis. If there are some questions, there are some solutions of those questions also. They can be also developed. So this is the our research questions, and then research strategy. How many the chapters will be done, how the chapters will be divided, what the methodology you have to adopt it. So these are called as the 3 steps: S1, S2, S3. These are the preliminary research steps. Then now the great challenge comes to the research scholar for making a research plan for his research work, either for the research paper or making a research thesis for which he has been registered for that. Research plan based upon the Lumbini Buddhist University, you will get the guidelines that how the research plan you can make it. First of all, there will be main objectives, aims and objectives, why you are taking this research for your PhD. So what are the main aims and objectives? What are the sources for that doing or research? What will be the research methodology through which or the tools through which you will get it? There are so many research methodology. We'll discuss that. What are the methods later on? Then if a research scholar through the research methods, he collects the materials, research materials or the data related with his research work, and then he moves for his analyzing the things. First of all, he has to make uh, collecting, he has to collect the research materials. First of all, there is a great burden for the research scholar is that how research questions can be developed. So for that research literature review, you have to go through the books, the commentaries, as well as you have to go through the journals, and then you will see that how the previous scholars they have discussed the problem related with your topic. What are the research gaps which have been discussed in your thesis? So they have been, what are the research gap which are left, and what are the scope which are left for the research, future research? So you have to find out those, and then based upon that literature, you have to make research questions also. Then after collecting the data, you have to analyze the research materials, and you have to arrange it as per the chapters which have been selected by you. So this has been you have to do the sixth stage, and lastly you have to interpret the things and making conclusion of your research paper or research thesis. So these are the three main preliminary, and then research proposal. You have to get approved by the board of studies of the your university, and then you have to go through it. So let us come to the next, and here we have to be aware that ethics be maintained at each step. There are cases of pluralism, that how the texts are copied and they are interpreted. Research is not only the scientific investigation, but whatever you are writing, it will be given with the reference or citations. There will be no any abrupt statement in your research paper or the thesis. Whatever you are writing, they will be discussed with the logic and reasoning, as well as based upon the literature available in you, Pali literature or Sanskrit literature or Tibetan or Chinese or Korean or whatever. So ethics can be followed at each step also. Now let us discuss that how the research problem can be located by a research scholar. So this is there are how you can discuss all these things, how the research problem can be developed. Now we are coming to the first step, that research problem, that how you research question can be developed by a research scholar. So here, by focusing on such a phenomena, new opportunities can be explored, treat them as leverage points. We have seen that we have to be aware that how the things which are happening in our day-to-day life, how, when, what, how these are happening. So how the things are occurring in our day-to-day life, how there is a starvation, why the people are dying, no, not because of the food and milk. The foods were not produced in a bumper sale, bumper crop were not developed. So what were the causes? How the seeds can be taken by in a very developed agriculture farm and other things. So we have to find out the research problems like that. It all depends on the perspective, that how a researcher perceives all these things. So how a researcher build a different perspective from different observation points, and it helps in other also. So Buddhism from the feminine perspective, if you see that Buddha talks always about the equality to all persons. And Buddha says also that chattaro banna samsama hunti, that all human beings are equal. But in some of the suttas, we see that how Buddha also talks about that Kshatriyas are superior than the other caste. Khattiyo setto janatasmim. In the Amrita Sutta, Buddha discusses that how Kshatriyas are superior. But when he says that Kshatriyas are superior, he also said that those Kshatriyas must be associated with the Til Samadhi and Panya, that Vijjaran Sampanno so setto dev manusanamti, that a person who is associated with the Vijja and Charana, Vijja is the Panya, that is the Charan is the seal and Samadhi, that a person is the superior one. Related with the feminine, we are all, Buddha also talks that all are equal. But in the later Pali literature, text, we find that how the females are given the second category stage. In the commentaries, you will find that women cannot get a state of Buddhahood. And there are some of the things that even they cannot go to the stage of anagami. So these are some of the things they are available in the text. So how the feminine aspect can be also understood, undertaken for the research based upon the Pali and Sanskrit Buddhist literatures. So how the re-engineering options like considering the this approach to a situation often provides new opportunities. So whether the online classes or the virtual classes, whether they are, what are the impacts of those classes to the society, to the future generations, how these are happening, whether this is more suitable to the people or not. So this type of option we can also think. How the problem can be identified. The problem is the aspect the researcher worries about, think about, and wants to find a solution for that. The purpose is to solve the problem. So here, see how the research problem can be aspect. Whenever he thinks that how the things are happening, how this has been discussed in our text, how it has not been interpreted in this manner, how the previous scholars have been discussed about it. So thinking again and again, and this thinking or thought comes after going through the literatures related with your research. You have to go as many books and the journals related with your research. And whenever the any research problem arises, there arises also the solution. That solution is called as anuman. That is called a hypothesis. Hypothesis is the present solution of the research problem which has been arises. So here the problem is that how this problem can be solved by any research method, any of the research method like analytical method, qualitative method, or empirical research, or whatever the sampling method or questionnaires method. We have to solve it through a method, research method, we have to solve it. So like one example has been given, the increasing incidence of cancer in India. In India, nowadays, there are so many cases are coming for the cancers in all parts of India. It is due to the lifestyle and other stress of the human being. So how these are happening, why these are happening, what are the causes of that? So proliferations of why these questions which arises, then the solutions will come that how this problem can be tackled. Then there are other proliferation of e-books and e-periodicals. What are the impacts on the scholarship? Even the scholarship and fellowships are being awarded to the research scholars for their conducting smooth conduct of their research. So, what are the impact of that? Whether they are enjoying very well for the research or they are not doing research seriously, they are getting the scholarship or the job. So this type of questions can be also arise. E-waste disposal is a big problem. How to manage it? Nowadays, there are e text also, and there are pages or the papers which are whether there are problems related with the ecology or environment also, what are the impacts of the leaves and other things on the natures. So this can be and how we have to manage. So only the question how, why, when, and what. These questions which are arising with related with our day-to-day life, these are called as a wage of. Then we'll discuss in a very brief manner because we are having the less time. Otherwise, we will discuss this question in the next time. Still, we are having 3-4 minutes for discussion. So let us stop here.